Greetings ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series Solo Apocalypse. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist listed in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 30. I sat as Ninth dug into my backpack. He wordlessly handed me a water flask, which I drank from voraciously. It tasted like plastic. 6th, 7th, and 8th were leaning on trees around the camp, staring out into the dusk. A few people were checking their shadows, flickering around the campfire. Most were staring at an Evan, wondering which one was real. So you can copy yourself, Rickson was somehow the bluntest. That's amazing. Is that a class? Something like a multi-fighter or... I gave him a genuine smile, but Gary spoke up before I could respond. What level are you? To be able to have a skill so powerful, he said pointedly. Gary, Parker cut in. He owes us nothing. He saved our lives. The blonde man gave Gary a hard stare. If you can't see that, then so he did, Gary said stonily. And how much closer will he risk us? He said, hushing the clearing. If his clones had been here from the start, we'd never have been in danger. He's hidden his true strength until now. He looked to me across the fire, eyes cold. Holding back might have cost someone their life. Do you understand that? His eyes caught the flickering flame, and I realized that they were burning, angry. I looked at him, wisdom and charisma allowing me to remain calm and navigate a justified accusation with collected composure. The man had enraged at me, just stated facts, throwing the evidence at my feet and calmly telling me to explain. He was angry, but not impolite. But I already came to an answer. My eyes narrowed. And I'm supposed to, what? Hold your hand? I spoke somewhat coldly, staring at the fire. Someone could have died, yes, but the blood wouldn't be on my hands. Everyone here entered this place fully expecting the danger, the risks, death among them. I held his gaze. I have no responsibility for your lives. We're strangers, aren't we? And I was still there, jumping in. My clones feel pain, you know. Every time they're beheaded, I'm beheaded. When they burn alive, so do I. I threw all four into the fray. Miraculously, no one had gotten injured beyond a bruise or a cut. I had dealt with one of the creatures almost immediately. The man in the middle had some ability to evade his Ifrit, and Parker along with the vanguard were sturdy enough to withstand the immediate ambush. Everyone had stalled enough to get their feet under them and for myself to lend aid. We all came in here expecting the support of all, Gary replied, glaring at me. Death is one possibility, but we came in as a group, a team, even if strangers. That's supposed to everyone's utmost effort, at least, with lives on the line. There's nothing less we can ask. I looked at him flatly. And, you think what? That my other selves were twiddling their thumbs in the trees, I said slowly, implicative. Gary frowned, something crossing his expression. His eyes slipped behind me to Ninth, whose gaze, even during this conversation, never left the flickering shadows of the campfire. Then to the dusk beyond the campfire, to 3 figures in the shadows staring outwards, silent watchers. Jack was quick on the uptake, staring at the clones. They were watching us. How long had they been there? I nodded. An early warning system, if we ever needed it. First contact with anything that might be too much for us. I glanced at Gary. I didn't expect something like those Ifrits. Rose was rubbing her shoulder. I don't think anyone expects an ambush from their own shadow. Her gaze fell to the flickering shade cast by the fire. Gary took it all before settling into a deep exhale. He looked at me. I'm sorry, Evan. I'm out of my element here. I'm accustomed to transparency within a team, not this. I was mistaken. I can admit that. I used to be a manager for Skylar Industries, he explained, mustering himself. I'm used to knowing my team, what they can do, and where I might best utilize them. I'm adapting, he said lamely. I suppose something like that isn't realistic in these conditions. I sighed. There's no harm done, so don't worry about it. We're all adapting, Rose said quietly. It's just that, not something anyone could have been prepared for. I mean, those things, she trailed off. Nightmare Ifrits. They were a degree above what we could probably safely handle. Rickson was surprisingly composed. He was shaken, obviously in a small jumps at every shadow, but only scared, not shocked. Everyone else was subdued. I leveled from that encounter, and I barely did anything. Same here, Jack breathed, visibly trying to stay calm. I could have died. Those things, they didn't waste any time going for the kill. He shook his head. Suppose that's just how it is nowadays. I saw it go right for heaven. No hesitation. It just slipped out of the shadow like something coming from a pool, and just swung for him. They're more dangerous than anything we've faced so far, I replied, and they hadn't appeared until now. Rose took a deep breath. It might have to do with how far we've gone. We're a ways away from the exit now. Distance might be a factor in the dangers we face. Or time, Parker added, seeming to have kept his wits. We've been here close for 4 days now, he said. Considering everything, it might be time to head back. It could potentially get worse from here. He said it more in consideration for the rest of the group than himself. Rushing that close with death, I could understand how shaken these people were. I could understand it, well, 4, 5 times over. And leaving, I wasn't necessarily against the idea. I wasn't naive enough to think those Ifrits were the apex danger of the Sleepy Wood could offer. Somehow, this place gave off an aura of emotionless danger that put me constantly on edge, like a sleeping beast that, if disturbed, could mean a swift death. The place was calm and quiet, but not to be underestimated. I felt the second anyone fell into that lethargic serenity was the moment they died. Head back, Rickson said incredulously. Just look at what we got from these things. A few more encounters like that with the bonus from being the first group in here, and we're set. These items could be a literal life or death in the future. He pointed to the 3 items laid on a log nearby. A dark woven cloak, twilight saber, and a cool shade bracelet. They each had interesting effects surrounding light and dark mostly. An unusual chest variant was seemingly the step up from an uncommon. Each of the items seemed more impactful. We could be facing death now, Rickson, Parker responded grave. Don't forget that. His stuff only has value when there's someone alive to use them, I cautioned, looking them over. If we die here, then more equipment means nothing. Parker nodded, arms on knees, sitting heavily. It's a matter of when to cash in, he added. But I suppose we should count our gains in the meantime. He spoke, glancing at the reward. We might as well make use of them. Item, dark woven cloak. A cloak made of light-absorbent material resulting in a color darker than black. It is further enchanted against the light such that it seems to be made of shadow itself. Item, twilight saber. The blade crafted from metal that glitters under the moon. Its edge rests between dawn and dusk, effective against creatures of both night and day. Item, cool shade bracelet. A bracelet with an encompassing enchantment. In the harshest suns, it offers an escape from burning rays and shield against all else. Jack was staring at the items as well. If we're distributing them, I think Eben has the right for first pick, he proposed, looking around. I'm sure we can all agree on that. I glanced around the campfire and found no one gainsaying me. I barely took a moment to think about it before Ninth wordlessly walked over and retrieved the saber, to everyone's bemusement. My only reasoning was that the saber beat the goblin-made knife. A sturdy weapon was something I lacked. Ninth handed it to me, and I felt an odd metal in my hand. A comforting grip. I guess I'll take this then. I was clueless when it came to blades, but even I could tell the saber was beautiful. In short order, the other 2 items were given to Rose and Rickson. The former was given the cool shade bracelet, and the latter the dark woven cloak. The cloak would fit in with Rickson's clasp, but the bracelet was up in the air in terms of best usage. Rose eventually ended up with it. Once that was done, it was a discussion on whether to continue or withdraw. There were reasons for both. Evan, what do you think? Rickson asked me. He was a slimmer man, an office worker. His glasses were dirty, clothes a mess. He looked at me with an inquisitive gaze, interrupting the conversation to address me directly. The last person one might expect to be the most adjusted. I think that you are the highest level person here. Logic dictates that you've survived through more than us. I heard a stray thought from him. He said he'd been roaming the swamp alone. What else is out there? And to do it alone. Despite me calling them strangers, I'd come to learn some things about these people. Parker was strong and steadfast. Rose was passive but purposeful when pressured. Jack was quiet and observant. Rickson, despite his withdrawn demeanor, had a naturally sharp intuition. I looked at everyone, strangers I'd only slightly come to know in the short time. Other faces whose names I hadn't bothered to memorize. It's what you said, Rickson. You can't get stronger in this godforsaken world without putting yourself at risk. That's just the way of things. I spoke after a moment. To me, that means staying here as long as possible. Gary spoke after me. Anyone who wants to leave, we can escort you to the exit. Not all of us have to stay. He looked up to the perpetually moonlit sky. It's about time that someone went back and briefed anyone who'll listen. I think we've accomplished what we came here to confirm, at the very least. There were nods all around, more conversation, and then we broke camp. End of chapter. I just quickly want to thank my Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Lord Asrical, Oakfield, and Dragzoon WRE. Thank you very much.